When I was only 6 years old, I became addicted to the second most powerful thing I've ever known. I lived in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, not far from Yosemite National Park. Surrounded by a vast forest, our house was up on a hill. It was a normal Saturday morning, cartoons, a bowl of cereal, and I decided I'm going to go mountain lion hunting. So I grabbed my bow and arrow, I grabbed my pump pellet gun, and off I went out into the forest. A couple hours, a few miles later, by the way, I didn't tell anyone where I was going, I came across a huge rattlesnake, at least 6 feet long. This was nothing new for a 6-year-old in the mountains. Did what I normally would do, pumped up my pellet gun, started shooting the snake. It slithered and struck. The rattle was, the tail was rattling vigorously. I made contact. I shot the snake several times. Something happened that would change my life forever. Out of the holes that I'd shot in the snake, little baby snakes started slithering out of these pellet holes. 5 or 6 or 7 of them amongst the rocks. I was blown away. That moment was not only powerful and magical and blew me out of the water, it was mystery of nature. It was something I could have never predicted, and it changed my life since that day. As the sun rolled across the sky, starting to get dark, well, I should probably go back home. Before I got back to my house, I made eye contact with a mountain lion and a cub kitten, and off they disappeared into the forest. Of course, when I got home, my parents were freaking out. Was he, kidnapped or killed or eaten by a mountain lion? Search and rescue was on the way. Fast forward to my first year of college. I'd also started rock climbing at the same time and trying to pursue a degree in math. Loved mathematics my whole entire life. Math and nature really defined who I was. All I could think about was rock climbing. I had a decision to make. Go to school, go live in the woods and climb every day. It was a tough decision. I went over to my grandmother's house, and she had some really incredible encouragement. She reminded me, Michael, the time is now. She reminded me to ask that question. This is a quote, why ration passion? I took my books to the bookstore at college, packed my truck, moved to Yosemite National Park, and never looked back. Started climbing hundreds of days a year. It was the best decision of my life. Fast forward 25 years to the present day. That mystery that I found when I was 6 years old really did change my life. Without mystery for me, there is no adventure. I've been seeking to find that mystery, what I won't find. I've been seeking what I can't find, what I won't find, what I can't predict ever since then. On now over 65 expeditions around the world seeking first ascents, virgin earth, and mystery. I want to show you guys just a little example of what that life's been like. Please roll the video. This is Libecki checking in. Absolutely loving life here on the border of China and Kyrgyzstan.
It's definitely an age-old tradition. Explorers wanting to go on those blank places on the map.
Some beautiful unclimbed rock behind me here.
The greatest opportunities for exploration these days are in the vertical realm. And Mike Libecki is the foremost exploratory climber of our age.
This is expedition number 50, halfway point to the goal of 100 expeditions. Life is sweet, the time is now, and we'll talk to you soon.
The American Alpine Journal documents the most significant climbs all over the world. Mike appears every year. because he is always going to incredibly remote places and finding things that nobody's ever seen before.
82 degrees north, right on top of the globe.
Most of our athletes go on 1, maybe 2 big trips a year. Libecki goes on like 4, 5, 6 expeditions a year.
Mike does a ton of research to try to find the last corners of the earth that are completely unexplored.
He is obsessed. He needs that summit.
He'll go down to Antarctica, he'll hit the tropics, rainforest, above the Arctic Circle, somewhere potentially unstable politically, like Afghanistan. Let's go to Yemen. You want to go climbing in Yemen?
Let's go to the weirdest hole on the side of some crazy mountain range and climb some shitty rock.
It's just rotten choss.
And it'll be awesome.
One of the coldest dumps ever taken by man!
He has this unwavering psyche no matter what the situation.
Life is sweet! Sweetness of life, sweetness of bugs.
At the point where any other person would break down and crumble and go home and cry to mommy, Libecki is hitting his stride.
Life is sweet!
Mike has climbing partners, but most of the time, he's just alone.
Half of Mike's expeditions have been solo.
But being alone in those intense environments makes you a little bit crazy. He's not crazy, but he's definitely a little bit crazy.
Greetings, northern earthlings. There's the earth flowing, we're on the bottom cap, just standing upside down right now, loving life.
He has his own expedition language, these weird catchphrases.
The time is now, life is sweet. Death and or old age is coming.
The time is now, life is sweet. Why ration passion? Loving life. A lot of people quote the Dalai Lama or, Gandhi at the end of an email. Mike Libecki quotes himself.
Loving life!
And he has a real affinity for wearing weird fucking animal masks.
On the summit, and he'll pull out this crazy mask.
Honestly, I have no idea what the story is with those plastic masks.
Whatever year of the Chinese calendar it is. Year of the ram, year of the dragon, year of the rabbit, whatever it is.
Weird, half-naked pictures of somebody on a summit with a sock over their...
This is year of the cock expedition!
When you see the video of Mike on top of these things with horse mask on his head, and you think, who is this guy?
I think Mike Libecki is a total enigma.
What's this guy all about? Who is the man behind the mask?
It's a little bit what it's like out there. There's still some stuff behind the scenes I dare not share with you. I guess it could be called OECD, Obsessive Expedition Climbing Disorder. So I'm happy to have that definition. I think, or I guess it could be called expedictions, if you will, because it really is. I'm really obsessed. If I'm home for too long, I do need to get back out on an expedition or I start sort of losing it. Everyone, our ancestors, all of you, we're all explorers. We've all explored in some way every day. We're all climbers, everyone here in the audience. When we were children, we climbed on the couch, we climbed on trees or rocks. Some of us just never stopped. I've had a lot of really interesting experiences on these expeditions, and they've taught me a lot about life, just everyday life. Everything really correlates and transfers. And I want to just share a few of those with you. First of all, this mask thing, which I just love. It reminds me of the Peter Pan theory. Let's not grow up. Let's be professional children, if you will. And really what it makes me think of is let's just laugh at life. Whatever your climb is, your challenge, your storm, the first thing, let's laugh at it. It's life. We need to laugh at life. What is there without humor in every situation? Even those heated moments, an argument with your partner, laugh at each other. See what happens. I guarantee it's going to be something very cool. 1997, my first expedition to Alaska was with a Japanese partner. And from 17,000 camp to the summit of Denali, we wore these tiger masks. And it made us laugh and realize not to take life too serious. We passed some climbers, and they were laughing at us or with us. I'm not really sure, but it reminded us, this is fun. Let's laugh. And even though we got hit by a ferocious storm that almost killed us, we were laughing at it, and it really gave us new energy, actually, to deal with that. So without laughter and humor, what do we have? I've learned there are two different ways to experience an expedition. And this, again, transfers over to everyday life. The first way is joy. We all experience joy. We all seek joy. Maybe that's the meaning of life. The second way to experience an expedition, or life, is what I call pre-joy. So if you think about it, if you're having that shitty day or you're having that tough time, if you call it pre-joy, you still have a form of joy. So if you think about it, every single moment is joy. Works for me. You know, Einstein gets credit for the saying, there is no cold. It's just the absence of heat. Well, the way I see it, there is no stress. There is no negativity. It's just the absence of joy and optimism. Works for me. These expeditions, these climbs can get pretty interesting, pretty intense. The key to them, definitely coming home alive, is communication. When you're out there on a trip like this, it's almost like a short-term marriage with your partners, without the sex, of course. Well, what happens on an expedition stays on an expedition. So, let's not get started. That communication is absolutely key. That trust, that bond, you literally and figuratively take your life and say, here you go. You've got my life today. Bringing that to everyday relationships, having trust, communication, and those bonds. I'm not sure what's more special in life with the relationships among all of us, with our friends, with our family, making new friends, when new family comes into our lives. I always set huge goals for myself. And with those goals, there are a couple things that make these possible. Absolute patience, absolute optimism. Those equal 100% commitment. If you can see in the reflection of my eye, there are a couple big towers. I've been wanting to climb them for over 10 years. And finally, after getting the permission and the funding to do so, that patience, that optimism, that commitment, I got out there and got to try to climb them, and I failed. Came back home, couldn't stand it, went back the next year and finally climbed them. I set huge goals for myself, and it could be good or bad, but I always set huge, almost unattainable goals. These expeditions are like almost endless equations, constants and variables. For example, even before stepping out of the door, the planning and preparation back home is the most important part. Here in Antarctica, we're using stoves 3 hours a day for almost 2 months. If I forget that one little tool to fix my stoves, our expedition is over. So every single detail of that equation equals that final product, and I apply that to everyday life. And at least it's helpful. If I forget the one piece of climbing gear and I'm up on a 4,000-foot wall spending weeks to climb, not only may I might not get to the summit, I might not come home from that trip. So that planning and preparation and everything is so key. Now, if we forget coffee on a trip, you don't have to worry because you're awake and you're excited and you're zinging quickly because it gets exposed and it gets exciting. You are awake. You are focused. Now, with that, this is actually what we're doing, these kind of climbs. When I'm even going solo for weeks on end and solo climbing these walls, it's 100% mathematically safe. You just can't make a mistake. No human error. And I truly believe that. I have to believe that. I'm definitely a believer in that which does not kill you only makes you stronger. But with that focus, not one mistake, these are 100% mathematically safe. There is no better way, I think we all know this, than to learn from mistakes and failure. I would imagine everyone here has a story that mistakes and maybe failures have been the best gifts of your life and have helped you in many ways. Out here in Antarctica, in this particular area, 100-mile-an-hour winds were pretty normal. And we were getting schooled out there big time. So we made these beautiful wind walls, made this weather haven around our camp. I've done this many times before. It works great. Then we decided to go climb for a while, and I said, hey, don't worry, guys. Our camp will be fine when we get back. I've done this tons of times. But there's that saying, when life looks like Easy Street, there's danger at your door. And we got back to our camp a little while after. Notice the wind walls. This is what our camp looked like after we got back. So Failures, mistakes, you learn all the time. I learned a big lesson and also learned how to dig a lot. And fortunately, we had some shovels so we could all dig, but that was an interesting situation. Now, with that wind, those storms, that mayhem of life, comes beautiful art. I mean, that wind carved these incredible, beautiful sculptures from nature. And it reminds me that whether in your backyard or halfway around the world, getting out in nature is the best medicine. It's something we should do every day no matter what. Balance putting down your phone, your screens. Take a digital detox and just take a walk. Or travel around the world and go to Antarctica or North Pole or Greenland, wherever it takes you. I always put myself in positions that could be compromising my life. Could be fear, could be failure, could be challenging, could be questionable. Those have been really important on these expeditions to learn and continue. These expeditions actually, I'll have this big trip in front of me, and it seems like, okay, this is it. This is the big one. This is going to happen. As soon as that trip's over, it becomes training. Training for the next one, and then the next one becomes training for the next one, and it goes on and on. It really is this obsession. But I think there's a gift in finding that organic enthusiasm, that passion in life. If you add up all of the days I've spent in these hanging portaledges, well over a year of my life has been spent in these. And that discomfort and that fear, which fear is a tool, makes me focus, makes me not make that human error. After a while, that fear and discomfort becomes comfort and joy. This happened to be my worst experience on an expedition ever. I was up in Greenland. I've been up to Greenland on 9 expeditions. It's a beautiful place. But there's something about Greenland that really bothers me. Polar bear hunting is still legal. I was out on a solo trip with the Greenlandic Inuit. We were going to a new fjord, and I was going to be dropped off for a couple months. We saw a polar bear. It was incredible. So beautiful. One of the most magical times of my life. And up comes a guy with a gun, shoots the bear, murders him in front of me. It was such a hideous moment, a horrible moment. I have a simple message from that experience. There is not one fucking reason to be killing, hunting, or shooting polar bears in today's day and age. And if we can spread that word, we can help out with polar bears. Because that's it. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. There is no reason to be murdering polar bears in today's day and age. Absolutely. Now, that same year, the polar bear was murdered. And listen, I respect culture around the world. I respect the history of culture. But again, not in today's day. That same year, the polar bear was murdered. I remember earlier I mentioned the second most powerful thing I've ever experienced. The most powerful experience, the most powerful thing that's ever come into my life happened. I became a father to the most beautiful daughter, most amazing daughter I could ever imagine. This is actually my daughter here at 11 years old with me in Antarctica on her first ski expedition. That was her idea, by the way. This is us in Africa last year on her 7th continent. She wanted to get to all the continents before she was 13 years old. So of course I'm going to support that. Now I'm an absolute believer that don't tell me how educated you are. Tell me how much you've traveled. Obviously that's really worked for me, and I want to share those experiences with my daughter. I'd like to just show you another little video.
I want to inspire my daughter to go for whatever she feels in her heart. As she's getting older, she sees all of the photos and videos and stories that she's saying, hey, I want to travel. I want to see these things.
He did a presentation of his trip to Antarctica for our class. I told my dad I want to go to Antarctica to go skiing.
My dad said that I have to get straight A's in order to go on this trip, so I've been doing that. I've been learning about the ski equipment you need, and I've been skinning up some slopes. learning about avalanches and how to be safe.
Look, it says okay. Safe, control, tough, brave, and strong. Proud of you. All of her training has paid off. And we're taking the ship down to Antarctica through the Drake Passage.
Took us 3 days by boat to finally get to Antarctica.
All right, this is Year of the Horse Expeditions in Antarctica. Here with my wonderful daughter, Liliana. That's the big difference on this trip, is that I'm not leaving and missing Lily. Like, we're here together.
We were out there skiing in 60, 70, 80 mile an hour winds, and she crushed it out there. She's finding passion that she wants, and she's going after it.
Good job. How's skiing in Antarctica?
It's absolutely marvelous.
Not a lot of kids grow up with a parent like Mike. I think I hadn't been out of Ohio when I was 11.
His relationship with Liliana is the only way to understand who Mike Libecki is, and somebody who's hell-bent on exploration and being a good dad. And if that's what turns you on in life, who can blame you?
He's doing what he needs to do and what he wants to do, and is a great example for her to follow your dream.
He truly lives those catchphrases.
These are genuine life beliefs.
You know, life is sweet, and the time actually is now, and there is no reason to ration passion. I mean, honestly, they're all good points.
You're getting too fast for this old man, whippersnapper. You can probably tell I'm a very proud dad, and I just wanted to read it. Lily has to earn to go on these trips, to get good grades, do her chores, and you know, she really does have to earn it. And I'm actually become really inspired by my daughter, because she said, Dad, you know, I want to do these trips, I want to travel around the world, but what are we doing to help the people on the planet? You know, on these trips, I want to do humanitarian work, I want to give back, and this is a huge inspiration to me and so many, and I want to help spread that message. So last year we did a 3-week humanitarian effort in Africa. We're getting ready to leave next month for a 3-week humanitarian effort in Nepal. And now she's been to 17 countries, all 7 continents, and has several more plans throughout the years ahead, which is pretty exciting. You know, I think when she was growing up, you know, the first several years of her life, she's thinking, okay, this is normal. This is what dads do. They bring stories home from all over the world and videos and photos. And as she got older, she was kind of like, oh, my dad is not very normal. I want to do these trips. And so, you know, it's really exciting, because her talking about humanitarian work is just incredible. And she's coming up with these terms like solutioneering and being a solutionist and joyoneering. And it's just blowing me out of the water. And so I'm trying to support her and help spread her message that let's take care of the planet. You know, let's give back and do the right thing. In our overflowing bowls of life, in the immaculate mayhem, I hope that we can remember that getting out in nature is important. Again, whether it's in your own backyard or down to the park or a trip all the way around the world, whatever it is. And I'd like to reiterate some of the things my grandmother told me that day when she said, Mike, the time is now. Death and our old age is coming. That question I think you all should ask yourselves, that we should all ask every single day. Why ration passion? And I guess my question to you that I have is, what is your expedition? And if I didn't make this clear, I'd like to try to make that clear one more time. Thank you guys very much.